Hello, kia ora, and welcome to the Creative Matters podcast, where we have inspiring conversations with artists from Aotearoa, New Zealand. I'm your host, Mandy Jakic. Hi there, thank you so much for being here for episode 141. This week I'm speaking with Ronja Schipper. Ronja has been lovingly making upcycled art objects since 2015. She lives in the Waitakere Ranges in Tāmaki Makaurau, Auckland. Ronja uses waste materials for creating design pieces, aiming to highlight the relationship with our at-risk environment and its resources. All pieces are handmade in New Zealand from discarded bike inner tube, cleaned, polished and enhanced with new findings. Ronja was born in Munich in Germany and is a creative all-rounder with 20 years experience in the publishing, fashion and advertising industry in Europe and New Zealand, with a particular passion for illustration. Since moving to New Zealand, she has set up Bureau 55, her own design studio in West Auckland, and in 2015 she started her art practice. This was such an amazing, inspiring chat with a really formidable woman. Ronja talks about how she uses her art practice to highlight the relationship with our at-risk environment, how she got started with jewellery making using this recycled resource, and how her business and art practice has evolved over the last 9 years. She explains her process from sourcing and cleaning the inner tubes to the designing, cutting, painting and packaging stages. Ronja shares how she is starting to use inner tube in different ways, with framed artworks designed to be hung on walls, and how she is learning to define herself as an artist. I hope you enjoy this episode. I'm sure you will. Morena Ronja.
Mata Marie.
How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
It's so lovely to meet you.
It's wonderful to be here in your gorgeous studio with the neck house rustling outside.
Yeah, and it's lovely to meet you and see all your gorgeous jewellery. You're just adorned with the most giant earrings, which only probably you can wear because you've got such a long, elegant neck.
Oh, there's quite a few out there, and I always like to say that they give people wings, so...
True, yeah, I'm sure they do. And you've got the gorgeous ring on, which is made out of a shell that you found, which I've also done some rings like that. And they've got beautiful, bits of tire, but they look like leather, don't they?
Tiny little strands, I've just tied them to it. And, the material is intriguing, isn't it? Some people call it vegan leather. I love it. It's flexible, it's strong, it's light. It's got so many uses after the intended use.
Yeah, it's incredible. And you've got a beautiful necklace on, which is just looks like lots and lots of feathers on a on twine.
Feathers and strands.
It's really beautiful.
Thank you. Bit of a seaweedy sort of thing happening there.
Yeah, I'll take some photos and we can add that to your blog post.
Great.
And it's just such a gorgeous material. It becomes so soft and warms with the wearer.
It does.
Yeah, which is lovely. But anyway, we'll get into that later. So you were born in Munich, Germany.
Yes. You can probably hear by my accent.
Yeah.
I've grown up just outside Munich, sort of a real village country upbringing. It's quite an interesting time because my parents came from quite simple backgrounds, I guess. My mum was a refugee and my dad was kicked out of home when he was 16. So they literally started with nothing. But they had a lot of ideas and they had an amazing attitude and they made something out of nothing, which I guess is something that I've inherited. So when we were growing up, there wasn't really any money to buy stuff. So I got a lot of the things that I wanted as a kid and as a youngster by dumpster diving and picking up stuff from the side of the road. Or if it just wasn't around, we made it. We repaired things like a lot of people, I guess, at that time did. And it sparked sort of a real appreciation for material in me. So sometimes say to people I'm a materialist because I love stuff, I love texture, I love materials, I love things. And along with that comes a desire to care for them. So to make things last, to get as much use out of something as you possibly can before you either lay it to rest or pass it on to somebody else to do something else with, or reinvent it, or whatever it is you do. But that's certainly been ingrained in me through my upbringing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Isn't that great that that's come all the way from, your childhood and right through into what you do now?
Yeah. It took me a while to realize that was always there for me, that was a really strong driver in what I was doing. And in the beginning, I guess it was necessity, but then it just became the thing that I do. And it makes so much sense because, we live on a small sphere hurtling through space. We've got limited resources of everything, and we just owe it to this planet and to ourselves to look after the resources and use them wisely and carefully and think about it.
Yeah. And you are really drawn and connected to nature. Is that something that also came from when you were a little girl?
Yeah. I was a real tomboy and basically spent my childhood outside. So we were just on the edge of a town, and there was big forests that I just roamed in. And I mean, I think about it now and I think, oh God, my poor parents, because they never knew where we were, And
that's the old days. Isn't
it? And a lot of times I was by myself because I just felt really comfortable by myself and really comfortable out in the forest. And, I would go there with my parents, like my dad, and I would forage. We'd collect mushrooms and blueberries and other things. Sometimes good, sometimes not. And so it was kind of like a second home for me. I had a real, and still have a real special connection to trees. And I'd have my favorite places in certain trees where I would go and I would sleep in the trees. A special sort of branch that just accommodated my body, and I would just basically hang in there and have a nap.
Really?
Yeah, I'd have little stashes of goodies in certain trees high up where I knew nobody else would ever think to go, and, a jar of raisins here and a few nuts there, and I'd share them with the birds. And so it was definitely my happy place, and is to the day. It's somewhere that I go to just re-energize, and it's just always a place where I felt safe, even if I'm out in a storm or in an unknown environment. I've never felt unsafe out in nature. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Sort of, it's more urban spaces where I feel like I'm on watch.
As an obviously creative child who loved to be in nature, how did you find art at high school?
Yeah, we were really lucky. We had a wonderful high school that had just opened near where we lived, and the art teachers there were fantastic. So in particular, one teacher. So art is compulsory in Germany, and so is music up to a certain level, which I find interesting that it doesn't really feature much in New Zealand. So struggling a bit with that concept. But yeah, for me, art was something that I absolutely loved doing. And one teacher in particular, she gave us heaps of freedom. We sculpted with clay. We sculpted with a construction material, which is similar to pumice, I guess, using saws and knives. And she just basically gave us so much freedom. She was also really good at putting things in context when it came to art history, and that really captured my imagination because, we'd be looking at, I don't know, say the Gothic period, and the fact that the paintings completely changed. And then she said, well, what's happening here? Okay, so let's look at architecture. I guess there's no real wall space to put any art up anymore. So this creative outlet has to go somewhere else. So that really put art in a place where it wasn't something disconnected, something just conceptual that was floating above everything else. It was something deeply connected to the time, to the place, to the politics, to whatever is happening in the artist's life, I guess. And, you know just as well as I do that artists have a real sensibility, and they are the ones that pick up a certain vibe or a vibration before anybody else does.
So true.
So I chose art as one of my final subjects. Again, it works a bit different to here. So you choose two main subjects. And for me, that was German and art, because I loved language and literature and just creative expression. So we would have these art nights. We occupied a downstairs part in the school, and we call it the art bunker. And the teacher at that time would allow us to basically stay there overnight. We cook up a meal together, put on music, and we just go crazy.
How amazing.
All night long, and then rock up at school in the morning,
Wow.
just emerge from the cellar like nothing had happened. And it's sort of, it was really empowering, and it gave me the opportunity to just have a go at anything. So when I did my final piece, I did it on my dog, which was like a best mate, like a soulmate for me. And I did everything with that dog, taking it to parties and into the mountains, and then doing all the art, including action painting, covering him in paint and making him walk over a canvas and roll around and whatnot, etching, sculpture, drawing, painting, everything. And just made him deliver the final piece in the end.
How amazing. Another dog person.
Yeah, they're amazing creatures.
They are, aren't they?
Don't really deserve them.
Yeah.
So I guess at that time art was a really sort of prominent part of my life. And when it came to choosing a pathway after school, it was quite tricky for me, because I was excelling at school. I was a straight excellent student, so I could have studied anything, and to the great horror of my mother in particular, I didn't want to go to university. I had a look at Art Academy in Munich, and it just felt kind of alien to me. It was very conceptual. It was very sort of detached. There was one guy working with pig's blood, I remember, and I found that intriguing, because I was a vegetarian at the time already, and I was thinking, there's a message here. I can relate to this, but I needed something more grounded in practice and in practical life. So I ended up applying and getting accepted into the fashion school in Munich, because making stuff had always been a huge part of me. Like I said, if we didn't have something, we made it. But that included cutting up my mother's wardrobe and repurposing garments, material, anything on her mother's sewing machine. So there's a bit of family history there, I guess, with fashion. My grandmother on my maternal side was a seamstress. So, I just loved the idea of fashion as creative expression and being able to use that as a creative outlet, I guess. And my heroes at the time were people like Vivienne Westwood and Jean-Paul Gaultier and the likes, that had a really strong political message attached to their fashion. So I was also getting into street art at the time. Sorry, Mum and Dad and German government, but I may have been involved in the beautification of some underground tunnels and things like that. So I was skateboarding, and, Tony Hawk was one of my heroes. So my tag was Lady Hawk. I'm sure it's not around anymore. It's well covered over by now.
You have to go back.
But I still got my book of pieces and sketches and things. So that street culture and that sort of politically driven fashion expression through fashion was something that I was really interested in.
Yeah, and which sort of you have held on to, haven't you?
I guess so, yeah. I mean, activism has sort of been a recurring feature in my life as well.
And even just the way you're dressed today.
Oh, okay.
You're very well put together, and you can see your fashion background.
Yeah, a bit random, everything. I sort of...
Yeah, but random but connected.
Okay.
In a good way.
Thank you. So, yeah, fashion school was fun. There was a final sort of piece we put together. So it was a combination of graphics and fashion. In that we had to do a final piece in the design department. And I created a snowboard brand called Respect. So the Re already came into life then. That is now back in action in the repurpose. So, I created a brand, a snowboard brand, down to designing a snowboard and actually picking up a board and stickering the top. I mean, the techniques we used back then were quite different to what we do now. We're using letraset and vinyl cutouts and photocopying, and it was the onset of computers. And I remember in my last year we did learn a little bit about Photoshop and stuff, but it was all still very hands-on. Drawing, type with a fountain pen, and stuff like that, and doing layouts by painting, drawing, collaging, photocopying and stuff like that. So that was the graphic side of that final year. And then for the fashion side, I designed a collection entirely made of Hazcam suits, old school bags and shoulder pads, because it was the 90s and there were plenty of shoulder pads around. They were becoming out of fashion. So that was really fun and interesting, but I felt that nobody really got it. It was totally out of what everybody else was doing. It was grungy. It was slightly dirty. It was totally rough. It wasn't polished at all, but it was just something that, I don't know where it came from. It just came out of me. I was like, there's stuff. We need to use the stuff. I wasn't interested in sort of taking beautiful material and destroying it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, there was one guy in my final year and we really connected. He did something also out of the box, which had to do with, I don't know what you call them. It's a tiny little figurine and you use yarn to create a long sausage. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
It's like something you do with kids. So you're basically crocheting a sausage. And he used those sausages to make garments, which
Really?
I thought was really cool.
It's like finger knitting almost.
Yeah, I guess so. You can do it with a little star. So it's a really popular thing for girls to do in Europe. I'll have to see if it's around here. But so we connected, and after we finished fashion school, we actually got together and we put together a book. And it was called Trash Chic. So based on the très chic, the French expression, and it was making stuff out of junk. We repurposed all sorts of household waste material into objects, whether it was something to use in the household or hang on the wall or wear. But again, we thought we had some great ideas here, and we tried finding a publisher as hard as we could, but nobody wanted this book. They were saying to us, but it's junk. And we were like, that's the point.
And in the 90s, it probably was not as accepted as something, a medium that could be used in an artistic way.
I don't know so much in the artistic way, but it was just, it wasn't anything mainstream at all. So to see junk used in mainstream art today and and even in mainstream culture, to see a recurrence of the desire to fix things, to make things, just gives me so much joy, because I think, yes, finally, other people get it.
It feels like it's kind of doing full circle. It's coming back around.
I really hope so.
Repurposing. Oh, even just the way people think about clothing.
Yeah.
Probably 10 or 15 years ago, that wasn't such a thing to go and buy secondhand clothes.
True. Yeah.
Some people did it, but it wasn't so mainstream, as you said.
Yeah. Like when I arrived in New Zealand in 2003, I went into op shops because that's what I did, and I went into Salvation Army stores and whatnot, and I was the only person there.
Yeah.
So that is fantastic to see that mindset shifting, and that gives me great joy and hope.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I wonder if New Zealand is better or worse with that kind of thing than Europe.
I guess the one thing that I have noticed in a lot of trends is that New Zealand is just slower, is just behind, and that's not a value thing, it's just a time thing. Stuff takes longer to catch on here, I guess, and
So what happened after the creation of the book? Where did you go from there?
The book got shelved.
Shame. Have you still got it?
Oh, I guess it's somewhere in parts. Yeah, I guess so, but I've moved on. And there are books like they've been published now, so it's it's good, it's great, it's out there, it's being accepted. So after fashion school, it was tricky because I knew I didn't want to go into a mainstream fashion kind of career. So I ended up going to Paris, and I scored a job in a trend agency, in a bureau de style, where fashion trends are created. So I thought, maybe we'll go straight to the source and try to change things here, to create an awareness of that. But very, very quickly realized that that was a commercial machine that was eating up people, that you just had to be all in or not at all. And there was so much ego at play, and I really struggled with that because I am not a ego-driven person. I just found myself getting lost, to be honest. So while I had a wonderful time in Paris and just cycling everywhere, I've still got a bike. I don't know if it's still there, tied up to a lamppost somewhere in Paris. I did meet some great people, but they were also on the edge of that industry, and it just became apparent that it wasn't really my tribe. So I ended up going back to Munich, where my boyfriend at the time was, and I ended up taking a job in fashion editing for a teeny magazine.
Really?
Yeah. So I ended up coming back to Munich, where my boyfriend at the time was, and I took a job for a teenage magazine in the fashion department. And I met some wonderful photographers, and I did some travel, and we put out lots of fashion editorials. But I was missing the creation part, styling and fashion editorial. It's all good fun, and it's all very glamorous and glitzy. It was in the 90s, lots of money, trips to Italy with models and photographers and stuff. But I wanted to create things. I wanted to make stuff. So I started illustrating on the side, and I found an agent, and I started doing illustrations for magazines, illustrated a series of fairy tale books and stuff like that. I ended up going freelance, then leaving the magazine and doing styling in that. But I was hungry for other stuff, and I wanted to travel. I wanted to see the world. So I ended up going to places like Brazil and Mexico and New Zealand and Australia. And I fell in love with New Zealand. It was a really strange sensation. I had been to Aussie for 3 months, and had a great time there, really mesmerized by the Aboriginal art and their strong connection with their land. And how, well, it's more than a connection for them. It's the same. They are the land and the land is them. And that made a huge impression on me. But in New Zealand, it was not connecting with any sort of movement or anything here. It was a deep connection with the nature here. I just felt like coming home.
Really?
It is it's a strange thing to happen to you. But when I returned from that trip, I said to my parents, I think I'm going to move there one day.
Really?
And I was 23 at the time, and they were like, yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, little did they know that I met a boy a bit later at Oktoberfest, where I was working to make more money to go more travelling because I got the bug. And that boy just happened to be from New Zealand. So he was living in London at the time, and we did the back and forth for a while. And I looked at London, I was thinking, oh, could I live here for a while? But it was too much big city for me. And so I kind of enticed him to come over to Munich. And we had a period of living there together. I was freelancing. He was learning German. We're having fun. And then we ended up traveling together for a year. And that changed a lot of things. We basically walked for a whole year through Asia, through India, Nepal, through New Zealand, through South America. Spent a lot of time tramping. Spent time practicing yoga, discovered meditation, and that shifted a lot of things for me. It became quite clear that I didn't want to go back to what I had been doing, whether it was fashion or editorial or anything like that. I wanted something different again. See a common thread there in my life.
Yes.
So we ended up pretty quickly packing our things after this 1 year trip and relocating to New Zealand. And Tony found a job, and I was sort of trying to find my feet, and quickly realized that, whoops, what have I done? It was a bit of a hole that opened up. There wasn't really a market that I could sort of insert myself into, and against all my best intentions, I was now in the ad industry, bit of a dirty word,
Yeah.
and working on all sorts of clients, climbing the ladder, and then ending up as an art director in one of the big gun agencies in Auckland, with some really fantastic people, and some really good clients as well. And I was valued, and it was great against, all my kind of anticipation and expectations. So yeah, I was doing that for a couple of years, and then I became aware. I realized that I was pregnant.
Really?
So I had my first boy, and again, that was a big shift for me, because I realized that I couldn't just hand this kid over to someone else to raise while I was ascending the advertising ladder.
Corporate ladder.
Yeah. So, yeah, maybe it was also a little bit of arrogance, where I thought, nobody can do a better job than me raising this child, because I'm obviously emotionally connected and somebody else is not. So I ended up handing in my resignation and fully immersing myself in child rearing and pouring my creativity into things like Play Centre, which I did with both of my boys, and pouring the creative energy into the raising of the kids, which I'm so grateful for. The fact that I was able to do that, and just seeing them thrive, and seeing their creativity thrive, and for me, creativity is not just in painting and creating something visual. It's problem solving at the end of the day. For me, being creative means to solve an issue, a problem, getting past a certain hurdle in a different way, rather than following a formula or a process as such. So, for me, artists, of course they're creative people, but there's so many other ways you can be creative. And I think that's really important for me to tell my boys or anybody else who's got children, it's not just sitting down with a certain material and putting something on paper or canvas or whatever it is, So that was taking me in a different direction, I guess.
Yeah, and that's important work.
Yeah. So when the boys were a little bit older and I found myself with a little bit more time for myself, I ended up setting up my own creative studio, which I called Bureau 55 after a street address. And I started to look for my own clients that wanted design work, that wanted illustration work, or any other creative work really that I could provide. And I built up my design business that is basically half of my practice. I call it my real job.
Yeah.
For a number of years, to the point where it is now, where, I spend a good part of my week creating design pieces for the likes of Amnesty New Zealand or Greenpeace, Aotearoa, and a large number of small business clients, people like myself, one-girl bands who are doing osteopathy or massage therapy or whatever it may be, and helping them drive their business through my visual communications, as we call it.
And you must love having your own business where you can decide on your clients. It sounds like your clients
Absolutely.
are quite... You're quite in tune with the people you work with.
Absolutely, yeah. And it is funny how things work. I don't know if it's karma or what it is, the universe, but all these people have come to me. Like this, it's all word of mouth. I've never gone out and tried to fish for clients. They've all just found me one way or another, and it's somehow perfect. It's the right fit, like you say. I'm totally aligned with their work.
You're aligned, and they're probably looking for someone who is aligned with them.
Yeah, and I guess that's why it works, because we understand each other, and I'm fully behind what they do.
And what a great way to work.
Oh my God, I'm so fortunate, and I feel really blessed, that it's turned out that way.
Yeah, it'd be very, it'd just be a lovely addition to your life, that those connections with the clients.
Yeah, it is. And it's fantastic, like you say, to work for yourself. It's I've got my home studio, so I can pick up some work, do it for an hour, for 3 or 5, and then somebody needs me, I can be there, or I want to go to yoga class on a Thursday morning, and I can. So yeah it's luxury.
Yes,
absolutely.
It is a great way to live, isn't it? Being self-employed. I mean, it has other stresses potentially, but also lots of positives.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you got yourself into a really great position of having your own business, which was doing well, and having this lovely relationship with your beautiful clients. I imagine that you still had a need to make in other ways. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, the practical side of things, the hands-on things, is just something that always happened. Whether it was rolling home the truck tire that was outsourced at Play Centre and turning it into a fish pond with the boys, or building stuff around the house, construction work, DIY, all of that. I mean, that's very much part of the Kiwi tradition, but I fully immersed myself into that, just kitting out the place and making things rather than buying them. Like I said before, it's sort of part of my nature, I guess.
Yeah.
And passing that bug on to my boys.
Which is such a good thing to pass on.
Yeah.
And your beautiful jewellery that you make, I'm just dying to hear how that actually all started.
Okay. Yeah. So that was actually something a friend handed to me, and it was a design competition that was happening in Auckland. It was the same people who did Rekindle down in Christchurch after the earthquakes. So this was a design series called Resource Rise Again, and it was asking specifically for entries made from waste materials. And my friend said to me, I think this is a bit of you. And I was like, thank you very much. And so I was looking for materials that I could work with. And the inner tubes were something we had plenty of in the house with, 3 boys tearing up the place with their bikes. And I started playing with that and made all sorts of things, little objects, little purses, little bits of bracelets, another jewellery piece, a ring that you noticed before, where I combined a shell and some bits of the inner tube. And the last piece was a pair of giant feathers that I turned into earrings. Because I don't know if you ever noticed, but the inner tubes are made out of 5 strips of rubber connected by these joints. They're like a seam. And it lends itself really to being a leaf or a feather or something with a center line running through it. So these feathers emerged out of the process of just playing with the material. And I thought, oh, yeah, that's pretty cool. And so I entered that into the competition, and that was all good. But I wore them to school drop-off one morning, and 5 people stopped me in the 5 minutes that it took to deliver the boys. And they said, oh, my God, I love your earrings. Where did you get those? So that started a conversation. We have a feel. What do you think they're made of? La-di-da. And before I knew it, basically the whole of West Auckland was like, oh, can you make me some? So I did. And people turned up to, catch-ups with everybody wearing Ronja's earrings. And it became a bit of a joke, really, around my part of the world. But the local art gallery in Tatarangi contacted me and they said, oh, we need to have these in the gallery. And I said, are you sure? Are you sure? This is rubbish. You realize, this is waste turned wonderful. But they said, no, absolutely, absolutely, we get it. And I was like, yes. So it all started from there. And it then got picked up by other galleries, by small shops, and I started my online store. And it kind of really hit a nerve with people.
Yes.
And I loved the fact that they loved my work, not in spite of what it was, but because of what it was.
That's right.
So it wasn't just the aesthetics that they liked.
Yeah, it was a combination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the story.
Which is so great.
Yeah.
And at that time, what year was that?
So that's coming up to 10 years next
10
year.
years.
So 2015, I started Repurpose. And yeah, it's just grown from strength to strength.
And I feel like you were the first to use inner tubes.
Well, maybe in New Zealand, certainly not in the world. If we want to give anyone credit for repurposing our rubbish, it would have to be the whole continent of Africa, because we've been sending our junk there for decades. And they have always made something out of the material, whether it is weaving electronic wires into beautiful baskets, or turning any kind of industrial waste that we ship there into something wonderful. So,
I didn't know that we do that.
Credit goes to them for sure.
That
I think from New Zealand, the waste stream is more into Asia. Mm-hmm. And, there's a raising awareness for that as well, which is fantastic because, what I want to do with this upcycling work is just get people to think about our resources, because at the end of the day, we can't carry on the way that we have been in the last century, where we're just taking stuff, using it once, and then basically throwing it, overboard, because there's no way. We're all in this ship together, and there's a limited sphere that we're all dancing on. So at the end of the day, if we carry on like this, we're going to do ourselves out of a planet to live in, everybody else that lives on it along with us. So, yeah, really, really heartened by the encouragement I'm getting from other people, by the support work like mine is getting, and there's more and more and more people doing it. And, my friends always get upset when they see somebody else doing inner tube feathers. And I say to them, it's all good. It's all good as long as the message is there, as long as we're all talking about this, because this is what it's about. It's about an awareness of resources, a relationship with them, and just get people thinking about the things that they use, the things that they buy, and what happens to that stuff after they're done with it.
Yeah, and it's such an important message. So how do you actually communicate that when you're selling work? Do you have some written information that goes with your product?
Yeah, absolutely. And, it goes right down to how I package and send stuff. So there's absolutely no waste in my packaging. It's the jewellery is presented very simply on a piece of cardboard that is either upcycled muesli box or a tissue box or something, with a few details on the back. And I send along a message just letting people know, what they're involved in and what they're supporting, and encouraging them to take that thinking out there. And when they're making purchase decisions, it's the old voting with your wallet, because at the end of the day, if tomorrow we all decided to not participate in a certain thing anymore by not buying it, it would cease to exist. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So companies, no matter how large they are, they only exist because of the consumers. And if the consumers tell those companies that they want them to do things differently, they will. And, there are slight sort of glimpses of hope for all of us, but I think there's just so much more we can do. The focus is so often on the individual and saying, oh, you should recycle, you should do this. But I think there's just much more of a conversation to be had in the kind of pressure that the individual can put on the big players, because at the end of the day, they're causing the vast majority of the damage to our planet, whether it's pollution to the oceans or the air that we breathe, the cutting down of forests. All those things are driven by corporations that we can either support or decide to demand to change. Yeah, and that's something I'm really interested in and want to have more of a conversation about.
I guess you're very concerned about companies like Temu and other companies that are mass producing and making a lot of rubbish.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's just a no from me.
Yeah. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because they are offering things cheaper. And so for some, that's too tempting.
Well, cheaper maybe as in the dollar price that is attached to it, but what we have to look at is the real cost of things. And that's not just the price tag that is on the item, but what is involved in producing this. What really sits behind that? What's the environmental cost? What's the social cost behind these so-called cheap and easy products? And if we were calculating all of that, then nobody in their right mind would be able to support that, because the social cost is huge, the environmental cost is vast, and we can't continue doing stuff like that.
It's not worth it.
It is not worth it. It's not working, and at the end of the day, there's no planet B. We've got nowhere else to go.
That's so good. Yeah. I like that. Yeah, there's no planet B.
There is no planet B.
So true.
There's a really lovely exercise that I encourage people to do, and it's called I call it zooming out. And I guess artists do that, or visual artists, when they stand back to look at their work to kind of see, is this working? I encourage people to stand back from what they do and to go even further, to go and look at where they are from a distance, to the point where you're looking at the Earth from outer space and you see this tiny sphere full of life, and it's hurtling through this vast universe of nothing. And that really puts things into perspective for me, in regards to what's important, what's possible, and what just simply isn't. And it just makes things so clear, I find, when you view things from such a zoomed out perspective, that it becomes very clear what we need to do, what we need to protect, and what's important.
You can see the whole big picture.
Exactly.
Yeah. Instead of often we just kind of bring it all in, and it's very narrow way of looking at
absolutely
what we're doing.
Yeah.
So just back to your practice.
Mm-hmm.
What is your actual process? How do you source these inner tubes, and how do you actually come up with design?
Yeah, so sourcing is really simple. It goes back to the dumpster diving. They literally come out of the trash. I've got a couple of guys, small workshops out here in West Auckland who collect them for me, and I can't even process all that stuff. There's so much. And I just take it home. I clean it. Simple as that. I polish it. During lockdown, when the Jacinda moment happened and things got a wee bit crazy for a while, my husband tried to perfect my cleaning process, which I just use oil. At the time, it was massage oil, and to just get rid of the kind of powder that's on the inside of the material, and then just a bit of makeup remover to move any excess oil. And then it turns it into this beautiful licorice textured material that is soft, that's pliable but strong, flexible, so
curvy.
It sort of responds to temperature, it goes a bit stiff in the cold and all floppy in the heat. And I've totally fallen in love with it.
That's beautiful.
So when it comes to the designs, it's playing. It's just playing. It's just seeing what the material is capable of doing.
So you start with the material.
Absolutely.
That's the beginning
That's
point.
the beginning. Yeah. That's the starting point. And then how can you manipulate it? Obviously cutting, hole punching, sewing, gluing, taping. You can do whatever you want. Threading. Yeah. So there's really no limit in how you can use the material. And I'm still discovering new ways.
I bet you are. That's so exciting. What a beautiful practice.
Yeah.
And the feathers, do you have a template or a stencil that you use?
Not at all.
You just
It's just freehand every time.
So you're not trying to get anything identical. Although you do you have to get both earrings identical?
Oh, if you want them to match, you can sort of create one and then use that as a template for your other side, putting them back to back. That's something I show people in my workshops, but I kind of discourage them from going onto their phone and looking for feather shapes and that. I said, just have a go. And it's so interesting to me because everybody has got their own personal kind of aesthetic and their own language, right? And that's really prominent in drawing or painting there, but it's also prominent when you give them a pair of scissors. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Because everybody takes a different approach to it. And that's something I really enjoy about running the workshops, is just seeing what people come up with.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's such a beautiful thing, isn't it? It's like children are the same, the way they respond individually to the same initial starting point.
Yeah.
Is really beautiful.
Absolutely.
And I think it's so important to give children that opportunity to actually do that instead of being told what the final result has to be.
Oh, totally. And I'm so grateful for the play centre journey that I was able to go on with my kids, because that is all about free play. And I guess I've learned so much for myself from that process, where it's more about the process than the product.
Yeah.
And that has led to the most fantastic outcomes in my experience. And valuing that in the children's work, but also in my work. Sometimes I just have a play with stuff in a tube or other, and see what happens.
Yeah, I love it. Love that. It's just the best way to work. So can you tell us how you add colour to your works?
Yes, that is tricky, and it's something that I do in moderation, because I really love just honouring the material as it is, because that is kind of half of the story, is the material. And some inner tube has colour in it already. I've even come across some coloured inner tube, a red one.
Really?
Quite early in my process, and I didn't realise how rare they were at the time, or I would have treated it with more care. So obviously the black is from the vulcanizing, and sometimes they've got a coloured line in it. But you can use acrylic paint. It's what I use when I paint some finishes on there, whether it's like a bit of a distressed look or a more defined sort of coloured tip, something like that. Just apply multiple layers. I mean, at the end of the day, it will wear. It will wear off because the material is flexible and the paint is only to an extent. Or you can use a bit of a spray finish, but I don't really like doing that because it's not very environmentally friendly.
Yeah.
So
you brush on the acrylic.
Yeah, brush on the acrylic. That's really it.
And I love the idea that, maybe the paint will change on that, on your piece of jewelry. And I love that sort of, it's like just a time thing, and it's just wearing with you. And
I agree.
Yeah.
It's funny you say wearing with you, because quite early on, again, I had a lady contact me and she said, oh, I love these feathers, but there's a problem. They've lost their color. And I said, that's impossible. I said, bring them to me. I'll have a look what's going on. And it was just that they had picked up her foundation, so from her face and her neck, and they've sort of turned a little bit of a beigey colour. And when I figured out what was going on, we both had a laugh. And I said to her, oh, look, just give it a good wipe. But yeah, so they took on part of her.
Oh, funny.
So, yeah.
She might have been a little bit enthusiastic with her foundation application.
Or just her wear,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good. She's wearing it a lot. That's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you go about actually attaching the fastenings and the other parts?
Yeah, so I guess that's fairly standard sort of process. I mean, for the more commercial stuff, I just use existing fastenings, findings they're called in the jewellery world. And for my more bespoke pieces or custom pieces, I sometimes repurpose existing jewellery. So whether it's a bit of chain or some hooks or hoops or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice idea.
Yeah.
Wow. It's just the most beautiful jewellery. I really love it. I have been given some small feathers. I don't know if they were yours, but you very generously gifted some of
My pleasure.
Your ones, and I really appreciate that. I'm definitely going to be rocking those, hopefully rocking, at least wearing.
Absolutely.
So you have a website and you sell through your website, don't you? And you also sell through felt.
That's my website.
Oh, that's your website.
Yep.
Okay. So felt, can you explain exactly how felt works?
Oh, so Felt is a fantastic online platform. And it's a New Zealand company, and they're basically supporting all New Zealand makers, artists, creators. So everything you buy on their website is made by a fellow New Zealander. And they're fantastic.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. So, you're supporting local, you're supporting a neighbour, you're feeding money back into the economy, and you're putting a smile on somebody's face. So, yeah.
So true.
Great community.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. And that is quite a simple process to sign up for that if you're a maker.
Absolutely. Anybody can. They have a little bit of a curation process just to ensure that, stuff that goes on there is of their ethos and goes with their ideals, I guess. But yeah, anybody can create an account, and there's more and more people coming on board, and yeah, it's a wonderful community, and we all support each other. I buy all my Christmas presents there.
Yeah, I love buying Christmas presents there.
Yeah,
it's great, and I have a sort of, I have a bit of a rule for myself that I buy made goods.
Yeah,
I don't always, sometimes I have to kind of go away from that slightly, but I love going to the local community art centres or art galleries and buying something that's been made.
Yeah.
Like you say, it's good in every aspect.
Somebody took the time, the care,
yeah,
the thought to create it. Yeah.
Mm. And you also sell at places like Auckland Museum Shop and the Mandarin Tree and the Vault. Yes. So how did you go about approaching those kind of gallery shops?
They all found me.
That's great.
So I guess a bit like the design work, it was word of mouth. And it just kept growing because of the product, because everybody who wears these bloody earrings gets stopped by somebody and gets asked. And yeah, I don't know what it is. I honestly don't know what it is. I had guys come up to me in a pub on the west coast of the South Island going, "Oh my God, I love your earrings." It's just something intriguing about them. Is it the feather? I don't even know.
I'm not sure. Well, I think it's the material is intriguing,
A lot of people think they're real feathers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they're bold pieces.
They are bold, yes.
In the best way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, museums, galleries, small gift shops, but also places like I've got a little stockist on Stewart Island. They run Kiwi and nature tours. And so there's an affiliation through the birds there, which I absolutely love. So, yeah.
Beautiful.
Lots of support.
Yeah, that's great. And it's all, once again, with people who you feel you're connected to and you share the same values.
Yeah, they're doing great work. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, which is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you also use your jewellery or your skills with that same material in different ways.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Yes. Over the years, there's been a few wonderful collaborations that have come out of it. People seeing my work and saying, "Oh, would you like to be part of something that we do?" For example, a designer called Liza D, who basically contacted me and said, "Oh, I love what you do, and I'm thinking of doing this furniture collection around the tui, inspired by tui, and I want you to do something with your feathers." So we ended up working together on designs and ended up creating a kind of korowai, sort of a cloak for a chair. Well, you could call it a throne, really, whose shape is inspired by the tui taking flight. And it's got this backing covering the back of the chair that I attached a whole lot of my feathers to turn it into a tui cloak in a way. So that was wonderful. And the stool version we did of that won a design award for the vegan furniture designs. Who would have known there's such a thing?
Wow, that's amazing.
So, yeah, that was fantastic. Fantastic connection made there. And I did a special collection for the singer-songwriter Reeb Fountain, who also loved my work. She'd been given a pair by her friend Diane Swan, and she contacted me, and so I did a special design based on a tattoo of a feather that she has on her arm.
Beautiful.
Which was super special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you did. I read somewhere that you made necklaces for to become like part of an award.
Oh yeah, just recently that was a cool thing for women in construction. Again, they contacted me and said, "We're doing this awards ceremony, and we'd love you to make the gifts for the award recipients." So they had 9 different categories. So I created 9 different designs for the different categories, and they all wore them proudly on the night, which was super cool.
Beautiful. It's actually, as well as being a beautiful thing to be able to provide, it's a fantastic way to be marketing your work.
Yeah.
Yeah. How much do you think about the actual marketing and money making side?
Yeah, I mean, money is important, but it's certainly not what drives me. Like, I've never been driven to what I do by the money. It's always been about the thing. Money's great, and I've been fortunate that this up bicycling, as I call it, has become a valuable side stream of work, if you like. It's a secondary income. It's fantastic. I feel really blessed, but that was never why I did it.
Yeah. And so your Bureau 55 business carries on.
That's my bread and butter.
That's your bread and butter, and then this is your... Well, it sounds like you're pretty passionate about your business also, but this is your passion project.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Where you're actually, really sending some very important positive messages.
Yeah, I hope so. And I'm encouraged by what's happening, that people are picking up the idea. Somebody has said to me, "Oh, you've started a movement. So if that's the case, woohoo, I can take that off my bucket list."
Exactly. I think you have.
So that's fabulous. And I continue to evolve, what I do with the material. Like, a wee while ago I was asked to take part in a group exhibition. And I said, "Oh, are you sure though? Because I'm not really an artist. I'm more of a maker, or at least I consider myself that." But they said, no, we think you need to do something for a gallery space, like to put it on the wall, not just in the shop part. And I said, okay, I'll have a think about this. And I created a couple of pieces with innertube, of course. And I found a wonderful frame maker in Wellington who does these gorgeous wobbly eggy-shaped frames that I thought would be perfect to kind of hold that work. So I did one piece that I called In This Together, and it's just made up of strips of innertube, and I've hand stitched them with kind of a cross-stitchy sort of vibe to create a flat piece of art. And the idea behind that was that, the cross symbolizing a person, a pyramid of people kind of all working together to make this happen. So we're in this together, this issue of resource management, of waste management, of resource exploitation. It's something that affects us all. It concerns us all. So we need to all work together to make this work. And the other piece is called All Cut Up. Again, it's in an eggy-shaped frame. And it's tiny, tiny, tiny pieces of innertube that have sort of come out of the making process of the feathers, where I cut tiny little imperfections out of the sides of the feathers to give them a more natural look. And I've collected them all up in a jar. And when the jar was full, I was like, well, what am I going to do with this? And so I created this texturized piece of art out of these tiny, tiny shards. When you look from a distance, it just looks black pretty much. But as you get closer, you realize it's just this thousands and thousands of tiny little cuts. And it symbolizes the idea that, a tiny little action on its own is nothing. And we often feel disempowered, all cut up about a certain issue, and we're not making a difference. And our impact is so minuscule. But when we put them all together, it is something, So I exhibited those two pieces, and to my great surprise, one sold on the opening night. And I was like, oh, maybe I am an artist.
Yes, absolutely.
Maybe this is another whole world that I can bring this conversation into, that responds to what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think so. I can really see that becoming, a big part of your world is making artworks. But, your jewellery is art.
Thank you.
And you're a maker, and so like we said earlier, what are you doing? What are you being while you're making? You're not being a truck driver. You're being an artist, a person who makes and thinks.
Maker and shaker.
Yeah. And, it's a funny one, which we've talked about quite a bit on the podcast, when do you become an artist, or when do you start calling yourself an artist? I mean, I guess now you must think of yourself, well, hopefully you do, think of yourself as an artist.
Yeah, I guess for me, it was that moment where somebody else said it to me that kind of made me think, oh, yeah, maybe I am, because what's the difference between a maker and an artist, or is a jeweler a maker, or is a jeweler an artist? And I guess for me, it's the fundamental idea behind it, and for me that idea is crystal clear, and that speaks through the jewellery work that I do, or through the artworks that I've created. So I guess I am an artist.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's interesting, isn't it, when the sort of difference between making jewellery and then making a piece for a gallery wall. That could be seen as a different thing, but to me it's still your craft, just in a different format.
Yeah, I guess so. I think it's one of those things, where something comes natural to you, or it's part of the person who you are, then you don't see it as something special. And it took me a long time to realize that not everybody works that way, and that's something that comes really naturally to me is difficult for someone else. because you just think, oh, but you just do it like this.
Yeah.
You know, not in a kind of condescending way, but it's like, oh, it comes natural.
Yeah.
So therefore it's not special. But I guess I'm realizing more and more through putting my work out there more that other people see it as something special. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, that's great. And you're obviously being seen with so many people approaching you for different things.
Yeah.
What are you doing? How are you doing that?
I don't know, honestly. I just do what I want to do. I just keep kind of pushing that message, and people are responding to it. You know, where almost 30 years ago we were trying to publish Trash Shack, and people went, you know,
No thanks.
no thanks.
Yeah.
Now they're going, yes, I want to put
Yes,
a piece
it's
of
quite
junk
different.
next to my face.
That's
Thank you
right.
very much.
Yeah.
So yay, you know,
Yeah.
I applaud everybody who does, and I'm hugely grateful. And I love all the support that I'm getting. And, you know, in the almost 10 years that I've been doing this, I've not once had anybody connect anything negative to what I do or the message behind it. And that's hugely empowering. You know, it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's brilliant. Well done.
Thank you.
Amazing. You're so inspiring. Are we ready for the questions, Ronja?
All right.
Okay. What would you say to your younger artistic self?
I guess I would give myself the advice that I wish I'd been given then, or that I would give to anybody really, and that's just remember it is all temporary. Nothing lasts forever, whether it's, you know, a slump you're in, or the worry where the next job will come from, or the high, you know, the buzz, the excitement. It's all temporary. And to me, that's a really positive thought, because it makes you just be right in the moment. It makes you, you know, grab the moment and enjoy it for everything that's in it. And if it's a bad moment, then just savor that, but know that it's not going to last forever. And yeah, I think I spend too much time kind of worrying about where am I going? You know, am I finding the right place? But then you look back and you go, oh, it's a winding road. But it's every wind, just you're there, and then your viewpoint changes and you're looking in a different direction and you see something new, and it's always changing. Change is such a powerful, positive thing. So just remind yourself, whatever situation you're in, you know, it's not going to last forever.
And what do you think of, or what do you think your biggest challenges are in the way that you work?
I guess, as probably every freelancer, artist, maker will tell you, we wear a lot of hats. We wear all the hats, you know, unless we've got an army of people that are willing to work for us for free, or we have the means to pay them. You have to do all the things, you know, all the right brain things, but also all the left brain things. And sometimes they come really hard, you know. Like for me, bookkeeping and taxes, it's just one of those things. Like every time I do my taxes, like I have a drink afterwards.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'm just so chuffed that it's done. So yeah, just trying to wear all the hats, battle on all the fronts can be challenging. For sure.
Have you ever, this is not on your list,
Yeah.
have you ever considered a World of Wearable Art?
I've taken part in Trash to Fashion.
Is that still on?
I don't know. This was very soon after coming here, when I was still in my floating around stage, and just grabbing at straws. I entered something into Trash to Fashion made out of Vogel breed bags. Yes, I have. I feel like I would need to give up my day job though to do that, because the quality of work displayed at Trash to Fashion, at World of Wearable Arts is just so incredible, that I would set my standards extremely high, basically. I wouldn't just enter something. I would want it to be extremely amazing, and that would take a lot of time.
Do you feel like, I just from talking to you, I feel like you totally have the capacity to give up your business and devote yourself, because there's so many it feels like there's so many categories within what you do that you can really develop.
Absolutely.
Is that something that you'd like to do?
For sure. And I'm sure I will at some point. Maybe when the boys have left home or something like that, and a bit more time becomes available, I'll throw myself into that. Still working up to that point, I guess.
That's exciting. That is exciting. I guess your practice in design does inform your art practice in some way as well.
They come from the same source, so I guess they're definitely connected. Yeah, I'm currently working on a new art piece for an exhibition at the West Coast Gallery coming up. That's again within a tube, but it's something different. So it's always more stuff evolving.
Yeah, and I feel like there's so much potential for you. And finally, are there upcycling artists who really inspire you and inform your work in some way?
Well, like I said, it's fantastic to see that there is an appetite for this kind of work now, and there is some amazing people out there. One that is very close to my heart is a Nigerian artist called Ngwacha Ernest. He's also known as the tire sculptor of Lagos. And he doesn't just work with innertube, he works with actual tires. And he creates the most out of this world animal sculptures out of tire. So if you search up tire artist Lagos or something like that, you'll find him. And it's mind-boggling what he does. And he has the same drive as me, the ethos behind it, the desire to just save ourselves from drowning in our own rubbish, basically. So he's definitely one to look up, and it's absolutely mind-boggling what he does with the material. Then there's also an Indian artist, Subodh Gupta, I hope I say that correctly, and their work is all about taking everyday objects like copper kettles, copper vessels, and turning them into tree sculptures, things like that. So they work on a very big scale, and just upcycling stuff that's basically outlived its original purpose. So they are becoming more and more well known. It's fantastic. And then another UK artist who works a lot with digital waste. So he started with floppy disks, Nick Gentry, and incorporates a whole lot of other stuff from the tech world. And it's just so intriguing how he does it. So again, the tech sector, a massive source of waste, of good material. Nick Gentry, amazing.
That's a good list. I'll look into those artists. And can you ever see yourself using another material?
Well, I'll have to at some point. I guess because inner tubes are actually becoming a thing of the past.
Are they?
So if you buy a modern mountain bike or race bike, you'll be told that it's tubeless, and you have to put lubricant or something into the tire to keep it from getting porous. So at some point that resource won't be available anymore, which I guess is a good thing. But who knows? There's plenty of junk around.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll have no trouble finding something else. And in a way, it will make your jewellery even more collectible when the material is not actually available.
Who knows?
People in 100 years will be like, what are these made of?
Yeah.
That's so cool. Oh, well, Ronja, you have just completely blown me away with
you're very kind. Thank you.
No, with your life and your way of thinking and your values and what you're doing to really get a message out there that is very, very important to you. And you're very, very inspiring. So
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mindy.
For talking to me and for being on the podcast.
just a little add-on. After we had our little chat, I walked away and feeling a bit brain dead, sort of having talked about myself for about an hour. And then I thought, oh my God, I didn't even say thank you properly. So thank you so much, Mandy. I really enjoyed our chat. And I think it's just absolutely wonderful what you're doing and hugely generous, giving other artists and makers this platform to just yabber on about themselves, their mahi, their mission, and all the other things that you do in the community. I love how you're such a community-minded person, and I hope all the good things come back to you. And I also wanted to say a special thank you for my gorgeous, gorgeous shell ring. I kind of feel like I've met a bit of a soulmate here, so I will treasure that and wear it heaps. So, ngā mihi nui. Thank you.